Did you know only 23% of adults in the UK actively invest in the stock market? To make matters worse, 34% of UK adults have less than £1,000 in savings. Welcome to Wealth Fund 21. This is a channel that's dedicated towards helping adults within the UK take control of their finances. Today, we're going to be answering a simple question. Should you save your money or should you invest it? First off, before we start, legally, I need to say the following. This content is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions. And with that, let's start. So first off, we're going to be talking about saving our money. Now, everybody's habits are slightly different, so this is going to vary from person to person. So for this example, we're going to say that you currently have £1,000 in savings already. And that could just be in a bank account or in cash, but you've got £1,000. Now, every month, you're going to take £250 into your savings account and save it. You're not going to touch it, you're not going to spend it, you're going to do nothing. So at current time of recording, which is the 1st of January 2025, Happy New Year everybody, the top savings accounts are around 5%. So that's what we're going to work towards. What this means is every year, the bank will give you 5% interest on anything that you've saved with them. So for example, if you save £100, they will give you £5. Really simple. Okay, so what we've done here is we've put in all of the metrics that we spoke about earlier. So £1,000 saved, which is our initial balance, £250 every single month, which is our deposits totaling £3,000, and then the interest at 5%. Now, every bank's slightly different. They might pay you over a course of a 6-month period or 12-month period. It really doesn't matter. But for this example, we're going to be using 5% at the end of the year. So the 5% that we get back in interest equals £120. Well, £120.88. As you can see, if we go to year 5, the longer we save our money, the more interest we make. So at year 5, sticking with that £1,000 initial balance, we would have deposited £15,000 exactly into that account, giving us a balance of £18,284, with £2,284 of that coming from interest alone. Now, if we go all the way up to 20 years, which is a long time, let's say you start at 20 and you're going to take it all out at 40, it's quite a long time to wait. However, you can see the level of compounding that happens. 5% every year grows and grows and grows until you get to 20 years. We have £105,471.06. 1,000 initial balance, as you know, we've deposited £60,000. We've actually made £44,471.06. So we've worked out if we save for 20 years at 5% at £250 a month with £1,000 at the start, we could make roughly £45,000, which is great because it's guaranteed, gives you peace of mind, and you know it's going to come in. You can plan for holidays, you can plan for your future because you know every single year you're going to gain 5%, which is great. But let's say you want to go to £1 million, okay? Because who realistically wants 44,000? We all want 1 million. Let's say you start at 20 years old again, and you want to make it to 40. You want £1 million by the time you're 40. We're going to start with that £1,000 again, and we're going to try and make it to 1 million. How much do we need to save every single month into a 5% savings account to become a millionaire by the time of 40? The number is £2,417 every single month. So in order to be a millionaire, you need to save £2,417 a month every month for 20 years into a 5% interest account. That's too long. Now we're going to use the same parameters as we did last time. So we're going to use £1,000 a month into your account already. We're going to use £250 a month into the same account, but it's not going to be in a savings account. It's going to be in an investing account. So for this example, we're going to be saving it into an index. Now, please don't worry if you don't know what an index is. It's really simple. An index is simply a spreadsheet that tracks certain companies or commodities or stocks and how well they do. The Premier League table is a really good example of what an index is. It tracks every team and how well they're doing over a period of time, and it gives you insight into goals, wins, losses. You get the picture. So for this example, we're going to be using the S&P 500. I'm sure most of you have heard the S&P 500 or actively invest. If you don't, maybe you should. It is essentially the top 500 companies in the US by market cap. A market cap is simply how much money they're worth. So what I've done here is I've pulled up the S&P 500 chart just for you to have a little look at. This is the investment that we're going to be using for this experiment. And as you can see, it gives you a graph of how it's done over the last year. If we look over to this side on the left-hand side here, we can see over the last year, it's returned 23.31%, which is astronomically high for this year. Unlike a savings account, our return is not guaranteed. So for example, if you look at this chart, we can see that in August of 2024, it went from 5,522 all the way down to 5,186. So you can see it changes over time. Now, although this could be seen as quite volatile, you can see that at the start of the year, it was at 4,742, and now it's at 5,881, which is a 23% return. So much higher than the 5% that we would be getting from the bank. We're not going to use 23.31% though. So if we look over a 10-year period, we can see that it's closer to 11%. And actually, since 1957, the return is around about 10%. So we're going to use 10%. It means that we're not shooting at 25% because it probably won't do 25% for the next 20 years. This is the investment account. So we've got £1,000 saved already, £250 every month that we're investing, but it's in the S&P 500, which we predict it will do roughly 10% every year. So if we wanted to make £100,000, which, remember, if we were to invest in the savings account, would take us 20 years. Well, it was £105,000, but you get the point. If we wanted £100,000, if we go along the bar chart, we can see here that it hits it between year 14 and year 15. So let's say 14 years and 6 months. That's 5.5 years faster than investing it in a savings account. Now, where would we be if we invested it for 20 years? We can see if we go up the chart, the 20-year period, when you hit 40 years old, you'll have made £198,752.30 by simply putting £1,000 to start and £250 a month in. Now, that's not accounting for adding more money in or increasing the amount of initial balance that you put in. That is simply a like for like with the with the savings account. Okay, so this is great. We now know that investing is slightly better, but comes with more risk than savings account. However, what about that £1 million? If we put our money into a savings account at 5%, we need to save £2,417, which is here, every month for 20 years. But what about investing into the S&P 500? For 20 years, we would only need to put in £1,308. That's £1,111 less. So what should you do? Should you save your money or should you invest your money? Most of the individuals watching this will be between the ages of 18 to 35. So this means that they're at the lower to middle part of their life expectancy. So it's my opinion that these are the years where we should be taking risk. We should be looking at those investments that are slightly riskier because we've got more time to put the money back into our accounts if we do lose it. The reason I want individuals at this age to take more risk is because of the use of compounding. Compounding is the most unbelievable thing you can imagine. It allows your money to grow year on year, year on year. And as you get to those later years of life, you've got way more money than you expected. Whereas if you've got a 20-year-old, they've got 63 years of compounding. It's huge. By utilizing the power of compound interest, an individual can squirrel away £250 every month into an ISA, a stocks and shares ISA, and make generational wealth. It makes sense for older individuals to invest in more stable stocks or more stable commodities like bonds that don't have such a high change on the pattern that we saw. An example of this is tech stocks. Tech stocks are extremely volatile. One moment they'll be all the way up and you'll be a millionaire. The next minute you'll have lost all your money and you'll be begging your mum for lunch money. Pension funds adopt this strategy. As you're younger, they will invest in riskier assets such as stocks and shares. Then as you get older, they will decrease that investment risk and start looking at bonds. It mitigates the fact that if there are massive changes in the market, that you're not that affected. Now, we haven't even touched on inflation, taxes, or even investment fees. And that's for another video. But there's one thing that's clear. Having a systematic, clear strategy over the long term and sticking to it will generate wealth. What are your thoughts? Are you team savings or are you team investings? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much and see you on the next episode.